Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for inviting me to host and speak. When Doug asked me to come along and speak today, he said he wanted me to talk about trust, and I thought, you want to hear from a lawyer about trust? You may be mad. But it was interesting, your response to Sally's question at the opening of her very stimulating talk about what sectors do you associate with trust. Nobody said the legal profession. When I began my career 35 years ago, I suspect the first answer she would have got to that question was my lawyer or the legal profession. The decline in trust of my profession over my career, it's not all down to me, but during my career has been almost incredible. And it's been a real challenge. And it's something that we've all spoken about. Trust is something you lose instantly, but it takes a very long time to rebuild it if you possibly can rebuild it. So I just wanted to talk to you about the challenges around trust that we face with our lawyers. We're a firm now with about 1,200 people, nearly 200 partners, and also the challenges that we face from our clients. And as Dan says, how are we going to deal with this going forward? How are we as a firm going to continue our growth and profitability and differentiate ourselves from the competition, given the changing demands of clients and lawyers? So looking first at our cohort of lawyers, I'm conscious that the door is not closed. But no, I'm not going to say anything at all that embarrasses me with our people. Obviously, we have a lot of people who are very well educated, very intelligent, very articulate, and are more than happy to tell the chairman why he's getting it wrong and how they could do it much better. But for me, we have seen a massive change in the attitude of the Gen Zs and our younger cohorts in the firm. And it was all connected. We were on a journey, as Jeff referred to. Over the last 10 years, I think we've seen a sea change. But the real change that I believe, affected us was the pandemic. There is the pre-pandemic world and there is the post-pandemic world for us. Because what happened during the pandemic was that, quite rightly, we developed a national obsession with health and well-being. Quite right, because we were all threatened with death at the very worst. So we needed to trust our government to protect us. They did that through lockdown and various measures. As we came out of lockdown, that expectation of trust about looking after people's health and well-being transferred onto employers. So our lawyers, whether directly or subconsciously, are saying to us, how are you, Julian? How are you, Freeths, going to protect my health and safety? How are you going to create a working environment where I don't feel uncomfortable or threatened? And whilst that started with physical well-being, it's really continued into mental health and well-being. And to be honest, I think we are still in the midst of a massive social experiment. We still don't know really what the outcome of all these impacts is going to be. For sure, a massive impact is going to be well-being. But fundamental to it all, I think, is that people's attitude to work and the work environment has shifted forever. So the expectations placed on us have increased enormously. When I began my career, it was, what you did was join a law firm and you saw it all through. You climbed the ladder, up the greasy pole, you became a partner, and you stayed and died in the job, or you retired if you were lucky. That has changed. As Dan says, we now have Gen Z, and I think we're now into Generation Alpha, actually, and their view is, I'll see what Freeths is like. If it suits me, I'll stick with it. If it doesn't, or even if I'm not convinced it does, I'll try somewhere else. I'll see. And so they've got a much more agile, open, flexible approach to the workplace. And so we have to ensure that we provide what they want. And what they want ranges over a load of things. What they want is good quality legal work, of course, that's a given. But they want all sorts of other things on top of it. At the heart, the feedback we get from our more junior lawyers is they want to work for a firm that is morally and culturally aligned with their values. They don't want to work for an organisation that, even though it pays them fantastically well, is not something that they can go home and be proud of. And without that cultural and moral alignment, we will never build trust with them, and we will never secure their input, services and contribution for many years, which is what we need to sustain our growth and development. So it's a constant challenge. Also, clients' expectations of their lawyers have changed exponentially. So we've moved from, we were grey, boring, conservative, expensive, and a distressed purchase in most cases. But one thing we were was trustworthy. But that is gone. Our regulatory body, the Solicitors Regulatory Authority, has never been as busy. It has more investigations ongoing as I speak than it has had in its history. And that's down to two things. One, because the conduct of some of my peers doesn't get any better, notwithstanding that society's expectations has moved on. But two, they are just getting more ferocious about enforcing it. But it says a lot that they need to enforce it. You know, our behaviours generally were self-policed 40 years ago, whereas now that isn't the case. You can't rely on people to, frankly, behave themselves in all cases. I remember one of the very first cases I did was a litigation case for a private client. It went on for the best part of 3 years. And they used to laugh at me because every meeting they want reassurance that we are going to win this. Tactically, Julian, are you doing the right things to guarantee we're going to win this? I'd say every time, trust me, I'm a lawyer. At the end of the case, having won it, they made a big poster for me which just said, trust me, I'm a lawyer. And I've still got it. The thing is, I couldn't say that to a client these days. They would laugh at me if I said, trust me, I'm a lawyer. Because we don't have that bank of trust as a profession anymore. We have to work on it very hard. But this cultural alignment also extends to clients. The client's expectations are, one, you'll be good value, two, you'll provide top quality expert legal advice. They're the given, okay? And we can buy that from dozens and dozens of law firms. What I want from you is more. I want you to convince me that you're a diverse and inclusive employer, that you take care of your employees' health and well-being, that you've got an ESG program. What are you doing on sustainability? Are you a member of B Corp? All of these initiatives are really the crucial aspect of clients and their decision to buy law firms. So we spend a lot of time making sure that we've incorporated that, included that in our offer. I mentioned to Dan earlier that I act for Audi, the food retailer, not the car manufacturer. And I have done for nearly 2 decades, since broadly they came into the UK. That has been such an interesting journey, because they are an organisation who has a very strong cultural identity, and they insist that it permeates through all of their employees and their leaders in the business. All of their employees and their customers need to trust them to deliver what they want. And they gave me this early signal when I first started acting for them, that You, Julian, must share our culture and values or you won't last very long with us. It's the reason I'm not wearing a tie today. They don't allow any of their directors now to wear a tie. I have daily contact with them. They told me, you don't wear a tie anymore, Julian. You've got to look like one of us as well as behave as one of us. And this was a particular shock for me because they'd had the first 12 years of acting for them, they had a rule that I had to wear a white shirt and a tie, all their directors. But on the 1st of January, about 5 years ago, they said, that's gone, everybody doesn't wear a tie. They're punctual. If you are 5 minutes late for a meeting, they will not see you. It doesn't matter if you've flown from the UK to Germany, they will not see you. You've wasted their time. They set a standard and expectation, and you can completely trust them to abide by it. And that is replicated now over more and more clients. They see us as business partners, and they want to be proud of us as their lawyers. Dan is telling me to shut up. So I'll just very quickly, looking at the future, you know, it's quite right that our clients and our young lawyers are holding us to account in terms of our behaviour and conduct, and that we have to convince them every day in all our behaviours and everything we say that we are aligned with their moral and cultural views as well. And you know, we are constantly under scrutiny. It's these things. It isn't enough for us to say, this is how we behave, this is our brand, this is our image. Aren't we great employers? Look at our diversity and inclusion policy. Every step we take, every tweet we put out there, every image of us as partners or lawyers in the world is being put on social media. We get quite rightly called to account for any missteps that we make. So we are constantly having to ensure that we generate that trust from our employees through the way that we behave. And that equally applies to clients. But it's a good thing. You know, Sally has thrown us all down a challenge, and I think it's good that we should be held to account, that we've got to step up and improve our conduct or behaviour, and those who don't deserve to fail. Still, that's enough from me.